I don't know. But the part of our brain that make the prediction of possible future is that just not our rationality? Is not that what rationality does? Gather information and then account for the future.
I like the way that connecting with what Chris was saying, almost of like unconscious processes, where it would be like that, like almost like the body or the right brain is like processing all this information underneath our awareness, and then something about how we like line up with that at certain times, and that's when like the body and the mind are connected. And that kind of goes to what I was saying before about the role of Eve as like listening to the animals. And it's also like all of creation really, where your body is also participating in, like, we often think that we're kind of these abstract spirits, but when the heaven and earth are united, that's when Eve is doing they're in a proper marriage or something like that. And then I also think it's this idea where nature is fallen, but it's not like totally depraved, or at least I wouldn't use that word, and such that, kind of like somebody wrote in the chat earlier, it's that it has to be like trained in the sense where like an educated person is more natural in a sense, but like is like, that's nature at its finest or something. Like man's nature is to be an artist or something. I have lots of thoughts about this, but it's a lot hard to manage. I don't want to take it too off topic.
Jacob, welcome. Do you have 2 cents for us? You're muted.
I figured we're just chilling, right?
Yes, sir. We're chilling.
It's Super Bowl Sunday.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any intuitions about who will win the Super Bowl?
I'm hoping Elon Musk.
I'm hoping Kendrick Lamar.
It's a really good, it's a tricky topic, like, because there's obviously, that's kind of the thing with all this betting, right? All these people are like, oh man, I have an intuition, and there's like,
You've got an intuition. Put your money where your mouth is and donate to Ko-Fi/McMosav.
No, it's kind of what we're asking, right? Is like, is intuition this like divine faculty, or is it something that could be like gamed in that way where you could use it to make money off of or something, right? I don't know.
I would love to make some money off the Super Bowl.
I like your point, Jonathan, because in a sense you kind of make the case for subconscious rationality. So something that goes on into the background, but is still a form of rationality. So it's still perceiving something and making a judgment based on that, but is on the background, is not on the forefront of our conscious. So that would kind of make sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it fits with like all the Ian McGilchrist stuff about like the right brain, but that's almost where that's where it becomes worrisome about materialism, in my opinion, when people just equate these like divine faculties. Oh, it's just coming from the right brain. But I don't know. I think it's almost like that's when almost like listening to the divine is also when like the role of the right brain or something like that. It's not just, it doesn't stop at the right brain. It's not coming up with it. It's like actually tuning into something, or I don't know.
Yeah, but we should not we should not use McGilchrist framework to specifically explain a spiritual understanding of our being, of our nature, because otherwise you're going to actually do a materialist move to map the spiritual part of us with a material part of our body, so the right, the left, or the corpus callosum, and that it becomes very soon. Well, you got into problem very quickly, you know. So that spiritual thing has to be something that is above, not. If you put it into a part, then we are in trouble, because you can just. Then you have the scientists that they make the experiment to weight the soul on a scale and ridiculous things like that.
Is there?
Well, I can pop something in here real quick. Well, that kind of goes with the whole thing. The map is not the territory, so you can use McGilchrist's thing for like lots of things, but you have to keep in mind that the map's not the territory. And then the other thing to toss back in with intuition is I don't know, it's just like kind of a thought or whatever. So take it as that. It's a intuition, the love of God pulling us towards the proper best timeline for humanity. That's it.
There's a lot in there.
Yeah.
I like that phrasing. But to comment on, I don't know. Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying too, Jay, and I think Joe's thought seems fitting as well with like the map. I think I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the like almost like a what do they call it? Non-dual or dual aspect monism, or like where I also kind of think about it as like radical incarnation as well, and such that I don't know, I do tend to gravitate more towards like Whitehead style thinking, where it's like that, or process theology or whatever you want to call it, but almost like, but it's also how Peugeot does Heaven and Earth, where the whole thing is what's up. It's not that God is just heaven or something. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I do see what you're saying, that like as we start to look at material like that, or you know, the radically immanent aspect of things, like the danger would be to like idolize that, or like to think that that's all that there is or something, you know, like I don't know, you know, it's like, I'm sure Jacob, you could probably comment on this a bit, with the idea of the man being kind of the image of, they talk about the temple, and you've got the tree of life with that being a man, right? And this is big stuff. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I mean, I want to comment, but I've only been listening a little bit to what's been going on. We certainly do have this concept in Judaism that, it comes from a Bible verse that, like, a man is like a tree, right? And so that type of symbolism is definitely there, but I'm not sure exactly how you're using it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there is.
What do you think? What are you thinking, TG?
No, I am.
Please, yeah.
Maybe that what I think is going to change the topic on that, because Jonathan mentioned process theology, and I see the way that it leads to an understanding of reality that eventually, to be coherent, it becomes pantheistic, and that's it happens all the time. Maybe stepping through pantheism, it always is explained in a pantheistic model. Every time that there is this non-dualistic conception of reality, what's happening in down the line very quickly is that is pantheism.
Just to note, like Chezi says, Deuteronomy 20:19 says, "A man is a tree in the field." So it's a Bible verse. Well, the previous one.
I really appreciate you guys leaving that the backwards writing on there with the fancy squiggles in the chat. Those are so nice to see. Big fan.
That.
Big fan. No, that's not sarcastic at all. That's just my voice right now. I like it. I like it a lot. What is up with that superb owl? Is that happening? Is it ongoing at the moment, or is that later today?
It's got to be later today, right?
I would assume like at least 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be.
Oh yeah, I think it's at 6:30 or something like that. I don't know.
Because in exciting news, I've decided to create the space here on my stream, but not on Mo's stream. We're going to do a monster party monster fight, fighting a superb owl with the lobster monkeys. It's lots of fun. We use Owlbear Rodeo. Stop on by during the Super Bowl to the Grimgriz stream if you want to play.
And more importantly, if you want to be virtually not alone.
Yes.
Alone.
That's the entire purpose of a monster party monster fight. I bring 4 people up on the screen with me, and we have a good time cooking taters and social flaming and such.
Well, if you're anywhere near Los Angeles and you want to be actually not alone, a bunch of us are getting together and watching the Super Bowl together. And actually not alone is good too.
That's what people do, but to watch that thing.
I doubt very much we're actually going to watch the Super Bowl because I haven't watched a football game in like, I don't know how many years. And I've gone to several watch parties for football games and still not watched the football game.
You're like the Bill Clinton of football games. You did not inhale. You know, they were playing in the background, but you weren't watching. It doesn't count.
Well, if anybody does participate in that communion, please note on the scale of 1 to 10 how satanic the halftime show is. On the scale of 1 to 10, we'll take the feedback in the Discord. We're expecting really high ratings this year, but let us know because we're not looking.
I'll be disappointed. My guess is that it'll more likely be blasphemous than satanic. If you're sin hunting, I would look for blasphemy before. I think you'd have better luck finding sins if you were looking for blasphemy rather than.
No, we're looking for like how far the mask has fallen off and how openly satanic they are now on a scale of 1 to 10 with this halftime show.
Don't do that to one of my favorite artists, Graham. Come on, I love Kendrick Lamar.
Isn't Trump doing an interview during the halftime show?
That's some high ratings competition, but come on by the Grimgriz stream for a game of Lobster Monkey Monster Party Monster Fight.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and donate to my Ko-Fi.
It's pinned at the top of the Hive Mind chat if you're still on the Grimgriz stream, but we're all over at the McMosav place where you should drop a sub if you haven't yet. The link is in the chat.
Yep, it's Free Sub Sunday. Today and today only, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for free. Get it while they're hot, folks. Get them while they're hot.
And while you can subscribe for free, you can also stop by his Ko-Fi and drop off a tip.
Like Yoav has. But then we've got people like Sandy who have become subscribers. So they're going to get special access to all of the beats that I've made on all of these weekend streams going back nigh on 6 months now.
Yeah, if you're new here, what usually happens is beat making and then talky talk with some closing beats.
Yeah, we're mostly about the beats here.
I was wrong. Trump is speaking before the Super Bowl.
That's pretty wild.
You think he'll give us a Super Bowl prediction?
Keep
I
your
don't
eyes
listen
on
much
it.
to Trump either.
let's dive in. Even though we're not watching, what teams are playing? Because I've always found that lineup out of what animal avatars they have on display for any given year as a symbolic hootenanny message to us.
It's the Kansas Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
You'd say Team America, the Eagles win this, according to narrative setting.
It
That's
really
my
is.
prediction.
It really does depend on your view of what America is. If you have a conservative view of family and religion that easily slots in with the likes of Taylor Swift and getting Starbucks on the way to your megachurch, then Kansas City is fighting for you. But if you're a dirty Philadelphian addict to just combat conflict and rooting for the birds, then then I think that's more. Elon probably likes Philadelphia. But here's an interesting aspect: is I've seen interviews from both starting quarterbacks where they both mentioned their faith in God and what part it meant to them in kind of making it to the Super Bowl, which is always just very interesting to me. It's like, is that a part of their intuition, or is that a lack of self-awareness? What kind of, what would lead one to say that I know God loves me because I'm a quarterback playing for the Super Bowl?
Well, a God must love them. I have a monster party to prepare for. Thanks, Mo.
Thanks for stopping by, Grim. Should probably play some branding, cleanse the palate. Not sure which ones I haven't played. Oh, wait, yes, I do.
The idea that if, what a group of witches is called a coven.
A group of Christians is called a church. The idea is sort of simultaneous prayer causes change. Now, there's different words. Some people call the prayer spells. Some people call the prayer a pep rally. Go! You look at the football game. You're seeing covens of witches cheering this direct energy at the team they want to try to move the needle a little bit. But when you consider the power of directing little bubble universes, which is every single human, focusing that beam of attention on a certain idea, dude, you're not only are you going to create whatever it is you want to create in the case of an advertiser, make some money, but theoretically you could guide history that way.
And the last thing you want them to figure out,
Man, the film was supposed to be smoking in space.
Focusing on what you're telling them.
But that's how easy it is to do a retcon in the film or a product placement in a film with some bullshit like smoking in space. Very good. But the beats, we should probably learn the beats and teach the beats as part of what we're the bullshit like smoking in space. Very good. But the beats, we should probably learn the beats and teach the beats as part of what we're learning, if that's what the bullshit like smoking in space. Very good. But the beats, we should probably learn the beats and teach the beats as part of what we're learning, if that's what they use to program people's mind holes. Welcome, everybody. The beats, we should probably learn the beats and teach the beats as part of what we're learning, if that's what they use to program people's mind holes.
So here we are, learning the beats, thinking about the beats. Flevis has recommendations on my Ko-Fi. Make sure to direct recommendations towards the Ko-Fi. If you've got an idea for what my next Ko-Fi goal should be, send me a little donation. Leave me a little comment. See if I don't use it. I guess I'm still stuck on the part of, in terms of what intuition is the degree to which it relates to self-awareness. To me, seems to be the kind of failure point. Because there's a sense in which, how would you know to trust your intuition or not unless you could kind of know yourself enough to understand or to observe when you get an intuition or you experience an intuition and then you take some form of action in response to that intuition, and that has to be the kind of signal feedback chain in order for there to be any hope of training your intuition, let alone kind of understanding it. But there is still that problem of, like, you have to observe yourself. And so, yeah, maybe that's where the kind of extended cognition comes in, where we need to not only like test our intuitions, well, definitely not only test your intuitions with card games, but more so like when you get a bad feeling about someone, kind of noticing it and not taking it, not treating it as nothing, but also not letting it be in charge. Or is it more of a relation? You still have to learn that relationship with yourself. So you're still kind of back in the same little paradox there. I don't know. I'm mentally ill and far from a mental health expert. Jacob, what do you think?
I think that you have to, that diversity is actually our strength, despite what people using that term has destroyed it with. You have various functions, and this does get back into McGilchrist, why do we have two hemispheres?
What are you talking about?
Right? Every animal that has eyes has at least two eyes. That for me has always been like an important thing, right? Every animal that has eyes has at least two eyes, because you need to be able to have a diversity of sources, right? And that includes your intuition, that includes your capacity to reason, and that includes your capacity to talk to other people. And if you fail to use the resources that are available to you, you're going to be worse off.
I think I was reminded as you were talking, Mikmo, about like kind of radical trust as well, where there's also a sense where it's like, if we really had like the purest faith, where we were like a perfect vessel for the will of God, like we wouldn't necessarily, like, I think that's almost the other side of I agree, Tunji, that that McGilchrist framework is kind of like, we have to be careful with it, for sure. But I definitely think it's a very useful and helpful, like, and has some real, very, true, I suppose would be the word. I don't know, like, stuff to say, and like, I don't know, that something about that radical trust, right? If we were really able to have that kind of virginal reflectivity to the will of God, like we wouldn't necessarily need that kind of discernment, or like the real training in that sense wouldn't be this kind of reasoning, but it would be more so like a trust or a faith and that's where I see this connecting to like creation as like an ongoing process where the body is not just it doesn't just lead us astray, but like when there's a productive relationship between mind and body, that then like your body can really tell you like when you need some these kind of unconscious, more out of our immediate awareness processes are very like I imagine a saint when they meet somebody who has some particular thing up with them, that they're so kind of in tune with their perceptions of the world and stuff that like they're immediately kind of aware of what's going on to a certain extent, but I don't know. And like, I've always thought it was very fascinating how I guess like particular cravings, like when people crave dark chocolate, they're often craving like the magnesium or something. And like there's certain things where like your body will basically tell you like you need this particular food because you're low in this or whatever. And I don't know, I think it's all very interesting to me.
Yeah, I was really shocked about that. My first job out of college was in a homeless shelter, and we had a nurse who would come in and teach people how to safely dumpster dive, which, okay. And she mentioned that she's like, if you're having cravings, it's because you're having nutritional things. And I was like, that can't be right. And I looked into it and I was like, oh wow, that actually is right. And so you have so many neurons in your guts that neuroscientists call it a second brain. And you really like so this idea that our thinking is completely contained in our skull is completely false. It's completely false. It's certainly not just in your skull. And frankly, I think what Vervaeke talks about with distributed cognition is that it's not even within your skin, right? Parts of who you are embedded in the people you spend time with.
Yeah, and it's also like the faith. I mean, what's the word? Humility. That's another thing that we had mentioned. Yeah, the humility seems like, because it's like there's a sense where we often, don't we aren't perceptive to these things because our head is going. I don't know.
So apparently, Yon God actually found something that arguably has one eye. I guess I was wrong. Copepods have one eye.
Yeah, if I can put here the point of critique, to be specific, with McGilchrist's frame of view, is that you cannot attribute wholeness or the unity to a part, because you contradict the whole point of the thesis. So even with the example of the eyes, the two eyes are not two distinct things in competition with each other, and then through dialectic you have the vision. No, they are part of a whole that is vision, and they participate, giving you the three-dimensional field of vision. That's why you have two. You have two ears, not because there needs to be a balance or a compromise between the two. No, it's just you have two because it gets directional. It gives you the direction of the sound coming to you. So they both participate to one unity that is hearing. The same with the brain. The two brain is not two brain. This maybe somebody will not agree, but that's not what science says. We don't have two brains. I know that sounds exciting or interesting to say that we have two brain, but we have one brain that is composed by two symmetrical sides, but they participate to one unity, one whole, and that is what is constitute our brain. And then maybe we build our theory of mind on top of it, but it's not a duality in the sense that are two things that they compete with each other. Otherwise, where is the wholeness? There is no wholeness, but we are one person, we have one brain, and it functions the same way that the eyes and the ears and our bilateral symmetry works, by creating these two parts that cooperate toward one.
Yeah.
So
Tunji coming with the ever radical, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder.
Absolutely, yeah, because symmetry and duality, and even in biology, are two different things.
So actually, you reminded me of something very interesting, which I don't quite understand fully, but I find very interesting, which is the more symmetrical the two hemispheres of your brain are, the more likely you are to have a mental health disorder.
I think the more Tunji's mic is on when other people are talking, the more likely I am to have a mental health disorder.
Yeah, you have to define which symmetry are you talking about there, because it's symmetrical in a sense. But
yeah, honestly, I read it in some of the neuroscience, because as much as possible, I have been trying to integrate biology into mental health. I've never met you, Tunji. I'm not sure if you know. I'm studying to become a counselor, and it's just one of the things that was pointed out. I would have to look up the studies, but apparently the more there's like they can measure the how symmetrical the two hemispheres are in people, and they found a correlation between there being less symmetry and more sanity, however you define that.
I guess it must be symmetry in the activity. That would make sense. And then the explanation will be also redundant to say that what they observe is just the impairment of the brain directly. So the symmetry is meant to create an equilibrium in which the biological process can move one direction or another. So if you have perfect balance, that's more similar to that. It's not life. So you need a membrane. That's fundamental biological system. You need a membrane that separates two boxes, two chambers, and then through that regulation of that openness of that membrane with different equilibrium, you have movement. So you have processes that then we call life. So even in the brain, you need a big separation in order to let this life process go on. So
I
if
think
you have a perfectly balanced thing, then it's kind of
I think that
the purpose.
the only problem of the which I may have misunderstood the last part of what you were saying, but the only like issue I would see with something like that is falling into the trap of kind of damning the particular, just in the sense that like even within nature, when we see a symmetry, we very rarely see a perfect symmetry. That's not to say that the form of the symmetry does or does not exist. It's just to say that, especially when you bring in its relationship to God, I think that there's a reason why we see a diversity of symmetries rather than kind of a spectrum towards perfect symmetry. I'm not trying to abolish the hierarchy either. I'm just more so trying really hard not to abolish the diversity.
What comes to mind for me is when you said, did you say one hemisphere was bigger than the other normally?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's. I was going to throw that in. How I'm pretty sure there's a thing where there's the left hemisphere is like a little larger, and I don't know how long, or how long that's been the case for or something, and it kind of fits with the idea that like people have been more in this more this one particular type of attention as opposed to maybe a more. I love to think with the brain hemispheres almost as like Adam and Eve, like the role of, and Eve would be listening to the animals, like the almost like the divination or something, but it's hard to like put in the right words. It's very difficult to map it perfectly. But and of course it's just a limited, like it's one kind of instance of that larger pattern or something, but it's not a totalizing. We can't just only think of it in terms of that kind of one lens. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was tagging on with you, Joe, but I'm pretty sure there is a thing where the left brain is like the left hemisphere is like a little larger.
And I guess that made me think that perhaps it's normally like that because the tension between the hemispheres being like sort of out of balance creates the proper relationship for whatever to happen that's necessary, I guess.
Yeah. I almost wonder if it has to do with like developmental stages or something, and like maybe that there's even like an evolution of consciousness where like there's something about our time period which is left brain, and then it's kind of like maybe the brain is, obviously again this can easily sound super materialistic, but like maybe it's like the brain is growing or something, and the left brain comes first, and then the right brain comes after or something. I don't know.
I have no idea what the study actually says. It's just when I searched it, I know that this is something people are discussing. Unfortunately, I don't know much about it, but I figured if somebody wants to go down that rabbit hole, you please let me know what you find.
The developmental aspect is it's a very complicated branch of biology, but it can explain very easily the symmetrical all the symmetry in animals. It's rather more difficult to explain now actually the parts that are not symmetric, because in development from the embryo on, if you imagine that there is an exponential multiplication of the original cell to 2, 4, 8, 16, and so on and so forth, it's easy to see that, okay, let's divide it left and right, and you don't need to know where is left and right. Okay, one side becomes left, and the other side becomes the opposite. So that symmetry is very fundamental in biology. You have other organisms that are defined by different kind of symmetry. So we are bilateral, and then you have the up until to the starfish with the 8 asymmetry of 8. So, but it's easy to explain, not to just to explain, to see, to track in vitro by the development of the embryo. But it's more difficult to see where this symmetry is broken and you have just one and not two things. And mostly it's along the middle line, because the cell, they know where is the middle between the left and right, and so they put a line into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the important philosophical point is that we should not reduce the whole to a part. Otherwise,
I'm totally with that.
I'm just feeling inspired to sample that and put it on top of a house beat, and then sample "I'm teaching the electric slide." Boogie woogie woogie.
Funny you should say that. I was reminded as tunes you were speaking about. Of course, this kind of raises the whole Michael Levin thing, right? And I don't know, just kind of maybe toss that out. Wonder if anyone has something to say. It is very, because he's talking about, for anyone who doesn't know, almost like these morphogenetic, how things acquire form and symmetry, asymmetry, etc. And it is definitely a controversial but also very interesting and thing. I'd be curious to hear y'all's thoughts.
What came to mind, it's not a whole lot, but it's like dancing. I don't know, but that makes sense a little bit to me.
Okay. I was like a bit of dancing.
Yes, it's like dancing. It connects to that too.
Hezi from the hive mind, laying Jacob's feet to the fire, saying intuition is Bina. I'm not going to try to pronounce that right. Sorry.
You did it right. You did
the
it right.
feminine, Jacob, expand a little. Just a little,
Okay.
He says. Come on, you've got the platform of the McMosav stream. At least expand a little. That was the tone that I read that in.
I can expand. I'm not sure what it has to do with what we're discussing, but there is the feminine and the masculine in Jewish mysticism, and so we have the left, the right, and the combination in the middle. And so the intellectual faculties are divided into left, right, and middle. Left being the feminine, which is Bina, which is understanding, right being the masculine, Chokhmah, which is usually translated as wisdom, and the combination in the center being da'at, or knowledge. And so chokhmah, or wisdom, is described as the potential of what? That is the spark of intuition. Yeah, I guess intuition, it's sometimes called, yeah, but it's a spark. It's the seed. And then bina, which has the same root as to build in Hebrew, right? And there's a verse, em banta bait, that a mother builds the house. So there's the concept of gestation, which takes that spark and gives it, expands it into having a shape, right? Which is the job of the feminine, is to gestate and to give breadth and height. And then understanding is the combination of the masculine and the feminine, right? Like it says, Adam knew his wife, right? And understanding is that capacity to bring these two things together. So I am not, and I don't know what he means by Genesis 2:22. Let me look up Genesis 2:22.
I think Hezi should hop on if he's got so much to say. I mean, good grief. Come on, man. The water's fine.
So Genesis...
this is a late night safe space.
I see. So Genesis 2:22, it says, and God made, or actually it's literally to build, right? Which is bina, like I said, the mother builds the house, right? It says God builds the side or rib, which he took from the man to be a woman, and brought her to the man. And so, yeah, there's bina there.
I love it. I love it. I think, and that's kind of also how I mean, there's a lot of thoughts. I don't know. That's also kind of, I don't know. I don't want to speak about that. Yeah. I don't know. That's how I think about intuition. It's kind of this, in the true life context, actually. It's kind of like, it's this feminine aspect. Yeah. Oh, that's what I said.
Yeah, I was still thinking about the Levin things. I follow it a little bit. Maybe sometimes we should talk about Levin, the symbolic word, and the Christ. I did connect with what we landed at before, that even in his experiment, when he cuts to 1 million parts that poor creature there, and the creature is able to build itself up again to a living, functional animal. That was somehow groundbreaking, because you see that the unifying principle of the being is not in the parts. The unity is in the unity of the thing. So even teleologically, what has been severed is going to recreate a whole organism, wherever it is, but it's going to create a whole, because even the DNA that is supposed to contain all the information that encoding the information of what that animal is, in reality is still a part. It's just a part. So the whole is in the whole, and it's interesting to see what the evolution of Michael Levin research in his philosophical aspect, mostly, to see where he lands.
Yeah, I forget exactly why I brought it up, but I remember that yeah, I think that's interesting, and I appreciate you laying that out. And um, I always thought like he also talks about kind of the bioelectric field aspect, which is kind of I think I forget that's part of the reason I brought it up, and I don't know. I think it also kind of connects with. It's interesting they use the word building, like how also talking about the feminine would like build the house, and there's a thing. The rooster is able to perceive a situation not for how it looks, but just what it truly is. Um, the I don't know, like I mentioned process theology before, and it's very tricky. I'm not really qualified to speak on that, but there's something about how I kind of correspond that with like the feminine aspect as like the um I don't know. I don't know. I definitely that's kind of how I think about everything is that it's this masculine feminine aspect, but there's the unity in the middle, and it's a holistic unity such that it's kind of this is the process of the one becoming many, and you have multiplicity as well, and and um that multiplicity actually like feeds back into I think there is something of like a furtherance of I don't know, it's the marriage itself which is most significant, I think. It's not uh kind of the formal aspect of things. I don't know. There's so many things, there's so many things up in there.
Well, Jonathan, you brought up something that I thought. I mean, the fundamental problem of the one and the many, like it is ultimately an intuitive thing, right? Because and I think people will be surprised if you look up in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy that the problem of the one and the many is considered one of the most fundamental, and frankly, I think it really is fundamentally one of the most important ideas, concepts. You might even call it dialogue or dialectic, right? Of the one and the many. And so the idea is, okay, everybody knows what one grain of sand is, and everybody knows what a heap of sand is. But where does one grain of sand become, and you add another grain of sand, and then another, right? Is 3 a heap? Is 4 a heap? Is 5 a heap? Right? When does it become a heap? Right? Or you're looking at a cloud, right? When any of us look at a cloud in the sky, all of us know, okay, there's that cloud. But when you look granularly, like which water molecules in the air are part of the cloud and which are not part of the cloud, defining that is apparently one of the hardest problems that cognitive scientists have in trying to get an AI to understand what something is, right? This is incredibly fundamental to how we function. The problem of the one and the many, and frankly, the Bible, it doesn't show up in translation, but when you're reading in the Hebrew, this contrast between the one and the many is something that is, I think, obvious throughout the Hebrew Bible, right? There's a verse in Song of Songs, Lo yichluha lo yichbed ha'ahava, what is it? Ma'im rabim lo יכבד האהבה. The waters of the many, or many waters, cannot quench love, right? And that fundamentally points to the problems of the many, right? Because what is love? Love is joining, right? And the waters of the many cannot quench love. So, yeah, but ultimately, it is I think, intuitively that we know love, that we know what is one, and yeah. Did any of that make sense to anybody?
Yeah, I'm following. I think, yeah, I would say at least that there's a balance between like an intuitive and a discerning kind of more logical aspect. But I think it could also be said that, yeah, like that it's primarily like there's maybe in the sense where we could, in the more traditional sense, where we are, and I think a very sensible approach where we are kind of feminine in relation to God, such that the intuitive would be more relevant to us in a sense as feminine. But yeah, I definitely think at least a balance of kind of like I'm already losing the train of thought on what you're saying, but yeah, it seems like, yeah, the one in the many, the relationship with the one in the many as kind of an ongoing process. Like I think that's how people think about it. And it's,
I guess,
yeah.
the threat there is that the AI cannot have intuition. We cannot program intuition to the machine, but we should ask why that, and why is that the machine cannot tell a whole. It can only see parts. Well, one simple explanation of this phenomenon would be that, well, the machine does not have a whole. Is not a whole. Is not a thing in the same category of we are created being, that by virtue of that we are unity that are capable to see the unity in other things immediately, because we are a unity as well. Things that is composed like a machine can at best just simulate, or can be trained to approximate that visualization, but cannot do it. So there is, at the base, there is an ontological issue there. That's has been the interesting aspect of discussing the AI situation and advancement. It's ask a question about metaphysical question about ontology.
Surprise, surprise! It comes back to ontology for Tunji.
Yeah, I
Big
mean,
shocker.
I did wait 3-4 hours before mentioning. I keep it at last.
Yeah. You've brought out the best wine for. Secondly,
it reminds me of Valentin Talberg, and I think Steiner as well, at least in certain regards, talking about Sophia versus Armon as a relevant thing of our time period, in terms of Armon as this cold, mechanical, force or agency, or however you want to put it. But then, Sophia is this definitely more in touch with creation, kind of like, or maybe as a more created form or something. Like, I don't know. I think the topic of AIs, and of course, how that relates with bioelectric fields and the 11 stuff. It's all just, it's very new stuff. I I'm trying not to jump to conclusions, but I don't know. That's definitely one thing that comes to mind is the whole idea of like Sophia and Ahriman and how, or some sort of kind of mechanical. I don't know. I have a feeling that there might be some sort of like ontological, to throw in the little ontology. I don't know. Like I feel like there might be some like valid sense where we could think of that these as like beings or something, because that's the thing with Michael Levin, where it's like it's a little. I get a little worried that it's just pushing for this AI transhumanist thing, but it's also like super interesting, and I think that he's, I'm not trying to write him off by any means or box him in, but the, like that's what I worry about. But I don't know. I think that maybe there could be something to be said for like an ontologically agential like being aspect of maybe some further evolution of these AI things, but at the same time, I would be tempted to think that it's going to be confined to being something like an incarnation of like Armon, or like a cold, dead, mechanical, left brain, non-intuitive, or something like that aspect. Yeah, and then maybe it would come down to like realizing that that's what it is and using it within those contexts or something. I don't know. It's such a big question. I'm not trying to speak on this, but that's what comes to mind for me in terms of kind of amorphous, loose topics of ideas that we're with. Because I think definitely right now, I don't think that the LLMs are kind of these intuitive. I think it's just kind of these algorithms that trick people, and there's usually people pulling the strings on the algorithms. That's how I think about it, at least.
One thing, the problem with the theoretical problem with Levin and the science and the scientists of his generation, of the best one even, is that you are starting with a presupposition that things emerge, and they use the emergence as a way of saying creation. So what does it mean? It means that they see the unity or like higher level complexity, like I have to drop the O word again. Higher ontological level being just emerging from complexity. So when you have enough parts, then some new process or whatever emerges, and then we study it. But this is completely false. Never observable. It's just.
I don't know if it's completely false. I'd say maybe it's like half.
It's not observable. It's not completely. It's not scientific at all. We can only observe the complexity and then take it apart. See all the parts and then see. Okay, this does this. This other, the part B does X. The part C does Y, and then we put all together by our own rationality and intelligence that is made to see unity in the things. But that unity does not emerge from the part. We are seeing the things the other way around. So that's why it's surprising. Levin is surprised when he sees that there is a principle of unity in a being that is being deprived of even the information, what we thought that was the information that contained the whole, that was the DNA. And if he move the bar somewhere else, he is going to be surprised again and again and again. So that's where the fundamental materialism of this kind of science is going always be. It will always fall short, because things do not emerge in the sense that they mean that emerge. They simply do not. They are just justifying what they observe and not admitting that there is creation involved by a creator. So, and they come up with this word that is just a sleight of hand. like many other words that are used to hide process that they cannot in any way, shape, or form explain or understand.
I definitely see that kind of danger in the way that you're speaking about it. But I also think that, I don't know, whenever emergence comes up, I always just think of Vervaeke talking about like emergence and emanation, how there's both, like every process kind of has like, and how Levin is talking about like the Platonic, he's trying to map the Platonic formal realm, and like maybe if he were to, I think he's kind of playing with all these ideas a little, and he's not totally materialistic, but I don't really keep up with his stuff particularly, but the sense that I get is that he's kind of also thinking about that there is like a top down, in a sense, like from formal Platonic space is the way that he thinks about it, I think. And like he thinks that, as I understand it, would be like mediated through these field phenomena or electricity or something. But, and that this would be, but I do think that sometimes he I feel like I've heard him say like that, like even the formal space kind of emerges or something. And I really think that you're right to like, to say things about the dangers of emergentism and like total, like I don't think that beings, I think that everything kind of emanates from the spiritual world, but then like the processes kind of are organized by that, and in that process it could also be described as like an emergence of these things, but it's kind of like there's both, you could describe it both ways in a sense or something like that, and so
I agree with that, but the problem is that emanation is never explained, and if you bring Platonic idea to it, then it's no longer a materialistic one. So it does not pretend anymore to be that scientific experimentation.
I have a feeling that Levin is also trying to like push the materialistic framework, like because there is a thing in science and academia, as I understand it, whatever disheveled remains of academia there still are or something. I don't know, but it's like, it seems like there is kind of a shift away from just a purely materialistic way of understanding things. And this is not to, support or renounce Levin's like work or anything, but it seems, I think that I would agree that he's probably not just trying to do a materialistic thing, but I don't know. I tend to be a little skeptical with all this stuff, like because I as I said, I feel like the AI aspects are a little.
Who's Levin? I don't recognize that name.
Michael Levin. He's I don't know where he works at, but he's like doing research on. He created these things called xenobots, and they're like these little.
Oh, he's the xenobot guy. Okay.
Xenobot guy.
Yeah, he saw that he could mix up the tadpole, and it would still become a regular looking frog.
Yeah, I honestly don't really keep up, but
actually, Brett Weinstein kind of mentioned that thing with I didn't really listen to the entire Joe Rogan thing. I was kind of listening half, but Rogan asked him about the critiques of Darwinism, and Weinstein started talking about how the materialists seem to be missing the fact that, so the way he put it is a sports car and a bulldozer. He didn't use bulldozer, but similar idea. Bulldozer and a sports car are both made of the same component parts, right? They're made of metal and plastic, et cetera, right? And he said that materialism, in a sense, tells us that, oh, well, as long as you have the particular proteins, right, or DNA, you're going to Am I? Am I? Um,
Yeah, dude, he's competition.
um, he said the materialists kind of have this idea that, oh, well, just as long as you can explain the proteins, which is the material components, then you would get. And that actually reminded me of the Xenobot stuff, which, yeah, I mean, frankly, what bothers me is we don't have enough intellectual humility in academia. People don't like the hardest thing for people to say is, I don't know. And being capable of saying, I don't know, like, we don't publish studies where the answer to the study is, here's a bunch of data I got, and I don't understand it.
Mhm. I also think it's almost like theological humility in a sense. Like, obviously, they wouldn't admit this because I think it's a completely out of the box question or something. But like I think they're kind of positing this triviality to creation or something, such that we could just organize these things. I think that like the rich evolutionary backdrop of life and such, like the intricacy of the human body and the stuff, like we're not just gonna have like humanoid robots that are just like people anytime soon, in my opinion, because like we are so, I don't know, just something about the fact that like life, like maybe if we get, like if life is created or something, or some spirit is incarnated, I don't think that it'll be radically different or something like that, because I think that to have something that's truly, I don't know, hopefully you all hear my point, just in terms of it doesn't have these beings that we're just like tinkering around with and stuff, are not like, or whatever you want to call them, processes, self-agential steady state processes and such, like then they're not embedded in this rich history of like, the human body is crazy, dude. It's crazy. Like,
Did you listen to the discussions that Sam had with Vervaeke, Sam Tiedemann, on Transfigured?
no, I didn't know.
Really great discussions.
Sam who? Sorry.
Sam Tiedemann, he's our resident Unitarian. He has a channel, Transfigured.
Who'd you say he was talking with?
What?
You said he was talking with who?
Vervaeke.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Sam has actually worked on AI, specifically in the healthcare stuff.
I think I might have actually seen one where they talked. I'm not sure. Was it like a while ago?
It was a while ago.
Okay, yeah. I think I probably watched it. I'm not sure.
It was a while ago. It was an excellent discussion, especially because Sam, talking with Vervaeke, has really been talking a lot about final cause. And I think final causation, somebody joked a while back, make final causation great again, right? And because we don't talk about final cause as much anymore. Aristotle has his 4 various types of causation, which I forget the names of, but usually we talk about the efficient cause or the material cause. We almost never talk about the final cause, which is what is this for? For example, when you ask what is the cause of this cup, right? So the final cause of this cup is to drink from, whereas the material cause is whatever it's made out of, acrylic or whatever, right? And the efficient cause is I went and bought it at a store, right? That's the cause. I went and got it. That's why it's here, right?
And the formal cause, I think, is the other one. Right?
The formal cause is, I guess the formal cause is it's a cup.
Yeah, it's like the shape, or like the shaping process or something like that.
Yeah, and frankly, talking about the various causes, it's pretty important. But going back to Sam,
how that relates to AI, perhaps.
Yeah. So, well, okay. So Sam keeps on bringing Final Cause up with Vervaeke because he thinks that's Vervaeke's chip in the armor in terms of his atheism, his especially his Arenic theism, right? So, I mean, without getting into that, but like the discussions that they have, and Sam is just so brilliant. Like he really is incredibly brilliant. Like the way he's able to have these discussions with Vervaeke just blows my mind. But anyway, back to AI. One of the things that he talks about, and Yosef, I mean, is getting his PhD in robotics. He's finishing up um, his dissertation, and the reason he hasn't finished partially is because he's working so much on like AI that he's not working on his dissertation because he's already got a job and stuff. So, you know, both of them know a lot about this stuff, and they're the people I turn to towards to understand AI better. And both of them have said we're nowhere close to getting an AI that is agentic, that has desires, right? We can ask AI to do X, Y, and Z, and you know the real danger, Sam has said, is not that AI will want to kill us, but that some human being will ask AI, "Hey, why don't you make better porn?" And we end up completely failing to.
Yeah, like, or even just like a captivating TV series or something.
Jacob, I think it's incredibly naive to think that that wasn't the first question that the AI was asked, and its very sole reason for existence.
It's Final Cause.
It's Final Cause.
Porn has been at the cutting edge of technology, like the internet. Like it has definitely been at the cutting edge of technology for a very long time, right? And we're talking like printing presses. When printing presses were first invented, some of the first things that people used them for was porn, right? Like ancient Chinese printing with blocks, like people use them to make porn. And so, yeah, this is incredibly dangerous. But it's a question of human will. It's not a question of the AI's will. You can ask the AI to make you better porn, which may destroy humanity.
And what is better porn?
Better porn. Yeah, no, I was exactly thinking that. Like better porn. Like, and it goes into cause, right? So what is more into telos? Yeah, more into telos. Like, what is the telos of porn, right? To be better, you have to first determine what the telos is. What is it for, right?
Yeah.
And
ain't nobody beat Song of Solomon in my book. I haven't seen everything out there, but ain't nobody topped the King Solomon himself. Chase away the foxes, my dears. Chase away the foxes. Until the time is right, chase away the foxes.
I was thinking.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think that well, I mean, so much comes to mind. For one, I think there's something about like the Luciferian symbolism which comes to mind just in speaking about all that. But then also, that's kind of how I think about AI in a sense, and how I ultimately think that it will be saved, redeemed, or whatever we want to say, but in the sense where it's like eventually it's realizing what is its purpose or function or something. I always get weird about the treating it as a being or something, but if we lean into that, maybe it would be like an incarnation of a kind of spirit of mechanism or a mechanical, like blind process or something like that. Like Steiner uses the terminology of Ahriman, or he didn't, speak directly about AI, but he was talking about how technology and technification and like he said, it started with the combustion engine and stuff and the vacuum, and like maybe the ultimate destiny would be to like see that as like the final purpose of these things is like to be used in that kind of, or not necessarily just used, but it's like that's the mechanical, like confining it to that proper sphere or something. I don't know if you're following my drift here at all, but I'm just thinking in terms of like, I don't know, what would be, how do you see, we're talking about the final cause of AI and how maybe these technologies don't really have either a good or like a planned out set of causes. That's like maybe how would this be? I don't know. And trying to relate this back to Levin as well. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the final cause is whatever the efficient cause decide for it to be. So whatever the one who designed the machine wants for the machines to do, that is final cause. That's all it is. The issue again, it comes. Was interesting what you said before about the beauty and the complexity of the human body and how far away science and technology is from replicating it. But still, there is a problem there because it's underneath that that sentiment that I share, of course, there is the idea that the uniqueness or the wholeness of a human being is a matter of his complexity. So we are what we are because of the sum of our parts.
And also the relations.
Yeah, you can add to it whatever you want, but that's just the sum of the parts. It's just you can put how many parts you want. You're just adding parts. So there is no obstacle. It's just a matter of time, where far in the future where the technologies will catch up with it and we'll be able to add that many parts to reach that whole. So, but that's still a materialistic understanding of what a human being is.
Yeah,
the amazing part of a human being, in as much the body is amazing, is the fact that we have a soul. It's our spiritual part. That's if you want to see it as the formal cause of the human being. That's what the machine can never have, because this is not a process of emergence or a byproduct of complexity. It's not even a byproduct of processes and relation. It's the nature of the things that's given by creation. It's created thing. So doesn't matter how much technology is advanced, the AI will never be an agent as a human being is an agent. People will mistake it as an agent, will treat it as an agent, will worship him as an agent, but it will never be. Because if you do that, you're just worshipping a creature instead of the creator. You're just seeing the world as materialistic once again.
Panda Person asks, what are we discussing? Just to let everybody know, I've probably got about 5 more minutes to 10 more minutes of energy and attention left. I've made a bounce. So if we want to make the conversation keep going, I got a little bit more time. But if not, we can do final thoughts. But I'll take a little quick poll if we want to keep going or if we're ready for final thoughts.
Up to y'all.
Final thoughts.
Sure.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Joe in a while. So, Joe, why don't you at least start us out? I'm assuming you might have taken notes like yesterday. So if you had, it'd be great for you to share them.
Not anymore. I didn't take notes there. My computer died. But Let's see here. I don't know. We talked about a lot of great things today. Too many great things. I don't know if the people listening are gonna be able to handle all that. But you guys, I hope you try, because it was some awesome stuff. And as always, McMo was a gracious host, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Tunji, final thoughts beyond how important the ontology of what we're talking about is.
Thank you, Echo. Thank you for the conversation, and I'll see you next time.
Jonathan, I guess you can be next, and then we'll end with Jacob.
What? It's been fun. I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, with the AI thing, I tend to think that there is going to always be a special sauce or something that is like part of the natural, that we won't really be able to replicate or something. But I also think at the same time that it's important that we remember God is radically immanent, and that I think like I don't know, the way I like to think about it is that the creative word of God also has a gestural aspect, and that this is the material world, and that God creates through us as well. So like one could even possibly debate that God is creating AI for a reason through us, but I don't know, I really get very, very sketchy, and I tend to be on guard with regard to these things, because people are really jumping to conclusions, I think, in my opinion, when it comes to AI, in the bad way, in the sense that they say it's a being, but what, it's like at the end of the day, my last comment, it's words of fudge, as PVK says. It's always, we try and put words, intuition, and like these, but we all have our definitions, and it's difficult to talk about these things, but we're trying. We're out here in TLC, and this has been great.
I'll just say it's really nice to have things like this where we just stick around and we talk. Like, I obviously love this type of stuff, and look, you can host stuff like this yourself. You can do it on Discord if you don't want it on YouTube. If you do want it on YouTube, there's lots of us who are willing to help you figure it out. I'm sure McMo would help. I definitely would help. And look, it doesn't have to be about like, making some exciting thing that ends up being clipped on PVK, although that happens too. But it's nice just to hang around with people when you got some time, and you might be doing other things, but like having conversation and having other human beings and chilling with humans.
Enjoy and finally, the last one. There's no art for the corner. If you're a smart person, if the corner helps you, and then you go and make art, that is not art corner. That is just art you made. If you make art for the corner, that's just called garbage. Just pick it up, put it on your fridge, you glam away.
You're muted.
My poor computer's dying.
I cannot hear.
I don't know, but I bet we're supposed to leave.
One more
God's silliest goose. You
Jacob,
don't know
Jacob,
that?
and like Jacob said, also in person as well. Actual, not alone. But this is the intermediary.
Yes.
We need intermediary spaces. And that's what's going on. It's
Look, if you're anywhere
better
near
than video
Southern
games,
California, we're having an estuary tomorrow on Tuesday night at my place. You're all welcome.
Nice. This is great. We need these spaces. This is awesome.
Enjoy and finally, the last one. There's no art for the corner. If you're a smart person, if the corner helps you,
Let's
and
see
then you
if
go
it
and make
works
art,
this time.
that is not art corner, that is just art you made. If you make
Like
art
it
for the
did not.
corner, that's just called garbage. Just pick it up, put it on your fridge, you glam away
My
on the
phone's in
fridge.
the other
That's not
room.
for us. If
What are
it's
you
art for
gonna
the
do?
corner, it's art for the garbage. Okay? Art is just art. Period. If the
Just
corner
make
teaches
myself.
you, if it helps you see something more clearly, and then you put that into your art, and then people like the art, great. If you make art that only can be viewed by people in the corner, that's just called garbage, and it belongs in the garbage can. And that's just the way art works. Okay? Guess what? I've done a lot of comedy. Most of my comedy goes directly in the garbage. Okay? It's bad. It wasn't good. Nobody laughed. My parents didn't even laugh at it. That's it. It goes in the garbage can. It wasn't good. It wasn't secretly great. They did not understand the archetypes I put into it. They did not understand the Petersonian, little thing that I was doing. None of that is true. It was garbage that went in the garbage can, and then you started over. So you're not going to make art for the corner. You're never going to have our own art galleries. This is not how art works.
The Broken Clock Tower Discord is going to clip the hell out of this little rant. It is going to become branding.
Well, yeah. Enough. I'm tired of hearing your excuses.
Amen.
Yeah. You take the pill, you put it in the peanut butter, you give it to your dog. Enough, folks. We're done. We're done pretending we don't know how to give the pill to the dog. Okay, you know what an union archetype is. Take enough. It's not that complicated. They're nice people. They want to be your friend. Don't scare them off. So, that's definitely one thing I wanted to get. Like, yeah. Well, yeah.
I did want to let everybody know and remind them that Grim will also be hosting a Virtually Not Alone event this evening. But with that said, great stream, everyone. I'm glad we could keep the vibes chill. And we'll just be sent out on the beat we made during the stream. Thanks for hanging, everybody.
He's always very creatively thinking of situations where your idea, your definition, your rule kind of breaks down. And Socrates is like this guy that whenever you say something, he'll kind of, it's almost like he wants to say yes but, right? So how would you define justice? And you go, I think justice is like helping your friends and harming your enemies. It's a classic Greek definition. Socrates kind of responds to just go yes but, and then he'll come up with something flaw or objection to it, right? So it's like, he kind of acknowledges there's some criticism on the sense, but there's also a shortcoming to it. There's always more, he's always very creatively thinking of situations where your idea, your definition, your rule kind of breaks down. And Socrates is like this guy that whenever you say something,
they're kind of causing don't have a timing triviality to creation or something such that we can just organize these things. I think that, but I do think that there's just like a balance of life and such that nature is space. So like we're not just gonna have something about the fact that, like life, like if
and he's always very creative, thinking of situations where your idea, your definition, your rule kind of breaks down. Socrates is like this guy that whenever you say something, he'll kind of, it's almost like he wants to say, yes, but, right? So how would you define justice? You go, I think justice is like helping your friends and harming your enemies. It's a classic good definition. Socrates' kind of response is just to go, yes, but, and then he'll come up with some kind of flaw in it or objection to it, right? So it's like, kind of acknowledges there's some truth in what you're saying, but there's also a shortcoming to it. There's always more, you know. He's always very creatively thinking of situations where your idea, your definition, your role kind of breaks down. And Socrates is like this guy that whenever you say something, he'll kind of, it's almost like he wants to say, yes, but, right? So how would you define justice? And you go, I think justice is like helping your friends and harming your enemies. It's a classic good definition. Socrates' kind of response is just to go, yes, but, and then he'll come up with some kind of flaw in it or objection to it, right? So it's like, he kind of acknowledges there's some truth in what they're saying, but there's also a shortcoming to the same, but there's also a shortcoming to
I don't trust him. There's a number of reasons I don't trust him. One is that, you know, he basically lied about the gamer thing. And like a person lies, he could be lying about these things. And I think that's more of a... If you were to believe what we know about now, that if things would lie would get him... If he... It's hard to say, it's just surprised the ways like if it will get... discussion, and then it wasn't verified until after the election. I think the Antichrist is fractal. Hundreds of hours, like everything else around.
gotta say, the desire to go to Mars is very autistic.
I thought that was excellently said.
Frustration.
I did want to bring up Lynn's comment and say that yes, we would prefer
that makes a lot of sense.
a war criminal who could remember the crimes so that we could feel justified in punishing them. But unfortunately, I feel like we need to take it easy on Uncle Joe. Neil, you have thoughts on Elon being ranked in Doom?
The arena or whatever.
Yeah,
The
I have a lot of mixed emotions about Elon.
the autistic person is the one is somebody that gets really is really powerfully affected.
But
There is this sort of gullibility that comes with that. And I think that, and also an intense desire for the efficiency that Elon is doing, and thinking and saying that. So I think I'm all for clearing out all of this stuff that basically
Luciferian somewhat, and that's the type
it was all games that was being used by certain people against other people or for their own benefit or whatever. And I think he's just trying to create a level playing field. Like, I don't think he's trying to
could it be the kind of thing where Elon intends this,
funnel all of like the government power into his projects. I think he's trying to get rid of all the stupid stuff that is in the way of him doing what he wants.
But the problem is that
Which is also in the way of a lot of other people doing great things
in his image,
and some people that want to do bad things
America
too, But like that.
Understanding about the lows and the fishes was them not understanding that everything is fundamentally planetary.
It's like, what? You can't see just like lots of levels. Yeah, it was lost. I mean, there's like, yeah, of course there's lost in them. Still wrong way to point to
I don't think like we can kind of like we could be intellectually aware of this, but aware of it at one point, right? Like we can, there's a way in which
the question is, where to be intellectually aware?
But it's hard for us to have faith in it.
Yeah, that's exactly the distinction. We can be intellectually aware, but not yet have actually cultivated faith, and therefore not be able to live that way. Yeah, and so if I zoom in, and so we're now in this world of like, let's say by hypothesis, it doesn't matter in this world where the George is actually in there. We're in this frame where the horizon of your perception is entirely bound by a reality that is governed by the laws of scarcity, which is, I prefer the myth that you just read, the story I'm telling, but the story I'm telling I can tell. So what happens in that particular game, and by the way I can actually superimpose sort of Jordan Peterson's hierarchy of values and this kind of the attractors of what does it look like to be able to consistently win lose games. Well, it turns out, weirdly enough, by the way, right, it turns out that honor and truthfulness actually produces a more effective team than people who constantly betray each other. And so this is what Nietzsche does is Nietzsche says, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, obviously exactly, I think what Peterson's doing weirdly, well, no, that's not doing, 3/4 of what Peterson is doing is, I'm going to basically say, let's figure out what is the infinite regress on the attractor of what does it look like to win those games, and just do that. So don't actually even play the game, the object level game anymore. Play the meta game of what does it look like to be the one that wins all games. And when you do that, you're actually actually winning the win-lose game. My hypothesis is that, hey, I become the greatest player of all possible win-lose games. And therefore, I have now definitively won. That's the Nietzsche's thing, is say, hey, drop the particular game, elevate to being able to notice how games work in general, and I become the greatest possible player of all possible win-lose games. And once you hit that point, you've now, you've won the game. But that's the sort of, and you say that once you realize that you're governed by the laws of scarcity, what have you won exactly? You've won something which is ultimately governed by a deeper set of laws like entropy. Right? Even though you are holding on to a kingdom, now have King Conan, if you know that image. Right? In the count, right? You're sitting on the throne, you are the king, but your head is hanging because you're sitting on the kingdom of rot, the kingdom of decay, the kingdom of death, which of course, you're sitting directly underneath the prince of this world, who is in fact exactly that player. Yes.
These Christian meditations, which are the fruit of much reflection, will be slowly but also easily understood, although they will certainly prove very difficult to anyone who by a cursory and merely inquisitive reading makes them so. That individual who first considers whether he will read them or not, should he finally decide to read them, will sympathetically consider whether the difficulty and the ease, when these are thoughtfully weighed on the balance, are rightly proportioned to one another, so that the Christian idea may not be given a false weight by making the difficulty or the ease too great. They are Christian reflections, and therefore not about love, but about the works of love. They concern the works of love, not as if all its works were herein enumerated and described, far from it. Not as if the particular works herein described were now described once for all. Praise God, that is impossible. For that which in its whole wealth is essentially inexhaustible, is also in its least expression essentially indescribable, because it is essentially present everywhere in its wholeness and essentially incapable of being described. How could anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou God of love, from whom all love comes in heaven and on earth. Thou whose didst hold nothing back, but didst give everything in love. Thou who art love, so the lover is only what he is through being in thee. How can anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou who didst make manifest what love is, thou our Savior and Redeemer, who gave himself to save us all. How could anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou Spirit of love, thou who dost abate nothing of thine own, but dost call to mind that sacrifice of love, dost remind the believer to love as he is loved, and his neighbor as himself. O eternal love, thou who art everywhere present and never without testimony in what may here be said about love or about works of love. For it is certainly true that there are some acts which the human language particularly and narrow-mindedly calls acts of charity. But in heaven it is certainly true that no act can be pleasing unless it is an act of love, sincere in its self-abnegation, a necessity for love, and just because of this, without claim or merit. These Christian meditations, which are the fruit of much reflection, will be slowly but also easily understood, although they will certainly prove very difficult to anyone who by a cursory and merely inquisitive reading makes them so. That individual who first considers whether he will read them or not, should he finally decide to read them, will sympathetically consider whether the difficulty and the ease, when these are thoughtfully weighed on the balance, are rightly proportioned to one another, so that the Christian idea may not be given a false weight by making the difficulty or the ease too great. They are Christian reflections, and therefore not about love, but about the works of love. They concern the works of love, not as if all its works were herein enumerated and described, far from it. Not as if the particular works herein described were now described once for all. Praise God, that is impossible. For that which in its whole wealth is essentially inexhaustible, is also in its least expression essentially indescribable, because it is essentially present everywhere in its wholeness and essentially incapable of being described. How could anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou God of love, from whom all love comes in heaven and on earth. Thou who didst hold nothing back, but didst give everything in love. Thou who art love, so the lover is only what he is through being in thee. How can anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou who didst make manifest what love is, thou our Savior and Redeemer, who gave himself to save us all. How can anything rightly be said about love if thou wert forgotten? Thou Spirit of love, thou who dost abate nothing of thine own, but dost call to mind that sacrifice of love, dost remind the believer to love as he is loved, and his neighbor as himself. O eternal love, thou who art everywhere present and never without testimony in what may here be said about love or about works of love. For it is certainly true that there are some acts which the human language particularly and narrow-mindedly calls acts of charity. But in heaven it is certainly true that no act can be pleasing unless it is an act of love, sincere in its self-abnegation, a necessity for love, and just because of this, without claim or merit.
The first act of the ground of being to withdraw and remove its power to create a space for there to be something other. But I think having created that other space, there is room for evil in the world. But if you think about it, there's another asymmetry here, because goodness, being love effectively, can embrace evil. But evil, being effectively hatred, cannot embrace good. So good is greater than evil. Good can embrace, take into itself, and transform what is in its nature at the time evil and turn it into something greater. But evil can never do this to good. Which is not to say that people can't become corrupted, that's not what I mean. But what I mean is that evil in general is powerless to overcome the truly good. The first act of the ground of being to withdraw and remove its power to create a space for there to be something other. But I think having created that other space, there is room for evil in the world. But if you think about it, there's another asymmetry here, because goodness, being love effectively, can embrace evil. But evil, being effectively hatred, cannot embrace good. So good is greater than it. Good can embrace, take into itself, and transform what is in its nature at the time evil and turn it into something greater. But evil can never do this to good. Which is not to say that people can't become corrupted, that's not what I mean. But what I mean is that evil in general is powerless to overcome the truly good. The first act of the ground.
Oh, I like that. I like that, Matt. You should pin your own thing. Overwhelm is the reasonable response to the combinatorial explosive reality without data. Oh, I like that. I like that, Matt. You should pin your own thing. Overwhelm is the reasonable response to the combinatorial explosive reality without data. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I like that, Matt. You should pin your own thing. Overwhelm is a reasonable response to the combinatorial explosive reality without data. Oh, I like that. I like that, Matt. You should pin your own thing. Overwhelm is a reasonable response to the combinatorial explosive reality without data. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Actually honors most, I feel and I firmly believe that coming to the truth actually honors most my Egyptian background. Because it comes back to its fullness. And I believe that anyone who leaves leaves what is broken and distorted to enter into the fullness actually fulfills with great honor their ancestors. How does it honor our ancestors to remain in darkness, to not move towards what their hearts yearned for and desired, maybe in ignorance, not knowing, or maybe because of, I feel and I firmly believe that coming to the truth actually honors most.
God, right? Wow, it's and it proactively enables you to make significance and to make meaning of each experience, and it allows you to sort of immediately extrapolate meaning across time. Like that's the proactive movement that's happening, right, in time. And retroactively, it redeems these past experiences and integrates them into a story of becoming, right? And exposes all the wrong vectors, happiness, self-becoming, all of these vectors that were absent, right? God, right? Wow, it's, God, right? Wow. God, right? Wow. It's and it proactively enables you to make significance and to make meaning of each experience, and it allows you to sort of immediately extrapolate meaning across time. That's the proactive movement that's happening, right, in time. And retroactively, it redeems these past experiences and integrates them into a story of becoming, right? And exposes all the wrong vectors, happiness, self-becoming, all of these vectors that were right? Oh God, right? Wow, it's
Hey, Grim Grids, we all could use some saving throws up against the mind control. Give the skull a dice to roll. Then at least we'll have a chance to see the foe before he sneaks around behind and does his best to land a blow. How's that? Of the free will to not see.
Yeah, sure. Because it's there the whole time, and it's part of you always knows it's there. But that's where free will comes in, is what you accept and reject. And I don't know where I'm going with any of this, but
you're evidencing the heart of the corner. Is where you're going.
Good.
Very intense.
This, the best definition I've ever, or at least that I've heard of hell that I adopted, was like, it's where God's not. And depending on your worldview, he can be pretty hard to see here. Like, you have the free will to not see.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's there the whole time, and it's part of you always knows it's there. But that's where free will comes in, is what you accept and reject. And I don't know where I'm going with any of this, but
I've been seeing the heart of the corner. Is where you're going. Very intense.
Speaking into someone else's mind. And I guess it sort of made me think a lot about, what marketing does and how the branding works. And I guess it just made me think that having this kind of knowledge really, well, I think that it can, I guess it somewhat can protect you. Protect you from the dark arts, as they would say. But it's true, though. Like, you need to recognize that these things happen. And when you can realize that these psychotechnologies are, all of the programming that's built into your TV set. This is what Grimm talks about all the time, peeking into someone else's mind. And I guess it's true.
I don't think they're doing that. I think these insufferable douchebags are so in love with the smell of their own farts, heads so far up their own asses, that they genuinely believe that they're big stars in some capacity, and that if anybody talks about them, they do it because those people that are talking about them want their attention or want attention. I don't think they're doing that.
recognize. But pastorally, the main point is God will get it right. So when people come to me, and let's say, like in the case of Dog Bark, I knew the man's heart, I knew the man's soul. You can find him talking with Pine Creek Doug on his channel, where he labels himself a 4-pointer or 5-pointer Arminian. There was never a member of Living Stones, but was interested. I didn't know if he would stay long enough for that, but I have no question in my mind. Dog Bark, trust in Jesus. No question in my mind. Now, sometimes people come to me and tell me stories of loved ones and say, what do you think about them? My first question is, I am not their judge. My second answer is, let me tell you about the judge. Thy wondrous works declare. Unto thee declare. Unto thee declare. Unto thee declare. Unto the way give His channel, where he labels himself a 4-pointer or 5-pointer Arminian, was never a member of Living Stones, but was interested. I didn't know if he would stay long enough for that, but I have no question in my mind. Dog Bark, trust in Jesus. No question in my mind. No, sometimes people come to me and tell me stories of loved ones and say, what do you think about them? My first question is, I am not their judge. My second answer is, let me tell you about the judge. The judge of heaven and earth. For God so loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Well, what if they didn't believe in him specifically? The same God who sent his Son is still the judge, and he will do what's right. And the details of that I cannot say, but the confidence I have is in the character of God, which I'm not different from those guys arguing about, arguing that universalism is true because of the character of God. We seem to say we see the same character of God, but we might see other questions about kind of Dog Bark. He wasn't really dance, he would sort of shuffle, he was really a slow mover, but inside he was not moving slowly. Inside he was ready to enjoy the world and ready to rejoin church and ready to get into music and ready to go out and eat and make friends. And he really enfolded the Freddie and Paul show crew and encouraged them and took videos of them and just always encouraged Freddie to dance and to do more music. And so yeah, his loss is a big loss, and he was very faithful coming to Estuary. He loved coming to Estuary. He loved the different ideas. He loved telling stories. He had good stories. And so it is, I don't know, he had heart trouble years ago, so it might have been a heart attack. I don't know what caused his passing. His health wasn't great, but inside he was very alive. And as I told Kimo, I have no questions where he is. He's no longer fettered by his body, but now he's again, he sort of cycled through churches. He found a church that was closer to home. And so he was just going to different churches. And because part of the difficulty with someone like him was no church was ever sort of enough. Churches would, Living Stones sort of fit the part of him. He told me when because, you know, when Chemo started playing piano, Chemo was just sort of learning piano, so he'd play with one hand, and Dog Bark said to me, he said, you know, if this church can can tolerate a pianist with one hand, they can probably tolerate me. And I thought, yeah, we might be short on money, we might be short on different kinds of talent, we might be short on finesse and facade, but what we are not short on at Living Stones is character, and what we are not short on at Living Stones is you can find your place here too, and that is what he recognized, that he had his place here. And it's too bad because his favorite month of the year was February, because in February you do African American spirituals for Black History Month, and he loved last February. He loved it. He says, I wish this was our music all year long at Living Stones. It's like, yeah, Living Stones, we're a pretty eclectic bunch, and so we are very, very much going to miss him. He was a sweet, sweet man, and full of energy and full of life, and I'm glad that he had this year and a half of sort of renewed energy before he passed, so that I could get to know him, and so that I could be his friend, and so that the rest of us, especially the Freddie and Paul show and others at Living Stones, could get to know him. And yeah, so maybe I'll play the. I'll just add to this a couple of my favorites. If I'll leave a link to the playlist to the Freddie and Paul show too, and to his channel, so that if you want to explore it, when I would play his music as branding on live streams, he'd be like, yeah, play as much as you want. We just want to get it out there. He just wanted to fill the world with music. And he made a joyful noise, as Psalm 100 says. And that's who he was, and that's what he did. That's what he did. And so, yeah, prayers for his family.
Got me? Oh boy. Yeah. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Come on, Dad. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. All along this Jesus journey. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Yeah. Walk with my mama. Yeah, walk with my mama. Walk with me. Walk with me too. You walk with my mama.
walk with Moses.
You walk with Moses.
Walk with me.
Walk with me.
You walk with Moses. Walk with me.
Walk with me.
While I'm on.
Yeah.
Jesus
journey.
I want Jesus.
To walk with me.
Stay a little off there. Oh, I like your dog. Say, walk with me, Lord. How y'all doing? Walk with me. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Walk with me. I'm on my I want Jesus.
I want Jesus.
Walk with me.
Walk with me. Walk with David, a little shepherd boy.
That's a deal with that woman.
Yeah, you made him a great king. I know David shouted for joy. He walked with David, and he's a little shepherd boy. You made him a great king. David shouted for joy.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. So walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. All along this Jesus journey. Walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. You gotta walk with me, Lord.
Yeah! That was rocking great, brother.
Oh, yeah.